Welcome to the world of research. In this video, we are going to learn about comparative method in research. Comparison and the comparative method are used in political science and social sciences to observe how political problems are addressed in different contexts, to assess whether a political phenomena is a local issue or a broader trend, and to develop and test theories about causal relationships. Even purely descriptive narratives involve causal claims. Ironically, much research in comparative politics is not explicitly comparative but limited to particular cases or events. This kind of research may generate broad generalizations about politics, but comparison has a role to play even in the absence of such ambition. Comparative checking offers the possibility of settling disputes between alternative explanations. Case studies that aim to contribute to the development of theory must be complemented by comparative analysis if their theoretical implications are to have any value. Testing theories. The comparative method is a research approach that involves comparing and contrasting different cases or observations in order to identify patterns and relationships that can help to explain phenomena of interest. In political science, the comparative method is often used to test theoretical propositions that are difficult or impossible to test through controlled experiments. By comparing cases that vary in terms of their relevant characteristics, political scientists can gain insights into the causal mechanisms that underlie political phenomena. One example of a study that uses comparative method in political science is the research on corruption by political scientists by Fishman. They use the presence of large numbers of diplomats from different countries and cultural backgrounds in New York City to study the relationship between cultural norms and compliance with New York's parking regulations. The institutional design was held constant while the cultural norms were allowed to vary. The authors found that diplomats from countries with a high level of corruption incurred more parking fines, suggesting a role for normative understanding of duty and appropriate behavior in explaining law breaking. This study is an example of the comparative method because it involved comparing cases that varied in terms of their cultural norms and compliance with parking regulations in order to test a theoretical proposition about corruption. Why compare? Political scientists face the challenge of testing their theories in the absence of a laboratory. They use two types of comparison: large N research with many cases and small N research with few cases. The former is used to find universal laws governing political behavior, while the latter is used to explain specific or unique political phenomena. Comparison is necessary because there are many different explanations for a single phenomenon, and the theoretical underpinnings of each explanation need to be assessed and tested comparatively. Comparative analysis allows political scientists to determine the validity of their interpretations of political phenomena and test their theoretical predictions among a larger population. By doing so, they can better understand complex and unpredictable social phenomena and generate general propositions about political life. Large N's. Quantitative comparative strategies. Large N research using quantitative techniques is a mode of analysis in which the primary causal inferences are derived from statistical analysis, which ultimately lead to quantitative estimates of the robustness of a theoretical model. This approach is used to assess the relationship between a given dependent variable and one or more independent variables across a large number of cases using a fast-growing variety of statistical techniques. The aim of large N research is to establish robust generalization about social and political life, focusing on commonalities rather than differences between the cases. This approach tends to focus on quantifiable variables, and context is dismissed from the analysis on the basis that if a given relationship holds across a variety of contexts, then context cannot be so important. Instead, potentially, Relevant control variables are included in the analysis to test alternative hypotheses. This implication of this approach is that social science generalizations can be identified which should work for any such context. Limitations of the quantitative comparative approach. Quantitative methods have become increasingly popular in comparative politics, but they have some limitations that can affect the reliability of the results. One significant issue is the lack of available cases of many phenomena, which means that quantitative data may not provide enough cases to deliver reliable results. Additionally, data selection is usually driven by the availability of data, which may introduce biases into the results. Further, even data produced by reputable sources may be unreliable. For example, per capita GDP may not be a good measure of welfare, and changing estimates can impact the calculation of GDP. Quantitative methods can provide findings. Researchers should be aware of these limitations and take care to properly design their studies to ensure reliable results. Small n's, qualitative comparative strategies. Qualitative comparative research is a research approach that involves the study of a smaller number of cases holistically and aims to generate deterministic predictions. It is different from quantitative comparative research, which is strongly analytic and produces probabilistic predictions by isolating particular phenomena from their context to compare them across cases. Qualitative comparative research looks at phenomena within their context and considers complex combinations or configurations of variables. An example of qualitative comparative research is by Murray's Social Origins of Dictatorships and Democracy. Murray studied the trajectories towards modernization of 6 major countries and isolated the combinations of events and processes that accounted for their success or failure in establishing democracy by the early 20th century. His study provides a more sophisticated understanding of the impact of economic change on politics than the simplistic linear relationship discussed in quantitative studies. Murray's attention to historical empirical detail and concern for understanding his various cases as wholes leads to a large number of qualifying statements which refine his theoretical framework. Conclusion. The comparative method is a way for social scientists to find patterns and generalizations in different societies. However, it is hard to make reliable generalizations because social contexts are so different. There are 3 ways that political scientists are making progress in this field. Number 1, by collecting more data and using more sophisticated techniques to analyze it, like econometrics. Number 2, by using qualitative methods like qualitative comparative analysis to study smaller samples and develop generalizable insights. Number 3, by combining quantitative and qualitative methods to get a more complete understanding of a research question. However, some political scientists still not only favor one method over the other, which limits the potential for progress in this field. Political scientists need to use a variety of methods properly in order to overcome these limitations. Thank you. Good luck with your research.